So you should never heal your trauma if you want to be rich. And I know we live in this healing culture that tells you have to heal your wounds, you have to heal yourself, you have to go to therapy, you have to do all of this shit if you want to be successful. But I'm here to challenge all of that because that is some absolute fucking bullshit. And in this video, I'm going to give you the entire game plan to actually use your trauma as fuel to propel yourself to a whole different level that regular people that just heal will never be able to achieve. Okay? And you might get triggered by this, but I don't really care because it's literally been proven time and time again, not only in my life, but also for the most successful people in history. Because you have to understand the most hyper successful individuals in this world built their success and built their businesses because they were constantly running away from something. They were running away from a wound. They were running away from, from whatever happened in their childhood and they didn't really deal with that. They didn't really fix that. It's the whole classic, like, my mom never loved me, so I'm going to build this entire empire with 1 million employees or whatever that are going to love me, right? Jeff Bezos might be there. So it's the whole thing of like, you have to use your pain and whatever the fuck you went through. You don't have to heal that, and you don't have to get rid of that. No, you have to understand that you've been given a chance, a blessing that you can take and you can convert into fuel for you to become hyper successful, for you to become a fucking animal. Pain is a gift. Pain is not a it's not a curse. Trauma is not a curse, right? When I grew up with Eminem, for example. Remember 8 Mile and all of that? Like, Eminem literally used his trauma with his mom to build the best fucking rap career in history, to become the number one. That's it. Like, you have to, it's just that most people don't actually know how to convert their trauma into something positive, and they end up actually letting that completely ruin them and destroy them. So in this video, I want to actually give you the game plan to do this and walk you through some points because I made some notes. And that's the thing that you have to understand. You have to literally integrate your trauma and your pain into everything that you're doing, and you have to use that to just take off. Because healed people, people that are just chill, people that are just relaxed, people that just don't run away from anything, they don't have any motivation, they don't have any ego, they're not going to get far. They're not going to get far. And I'm saying this from experience. I've seen people that are hyper talented, way more smart than I am. They cannot build shit. They cannot do shit because they're super chill. They're super chill. So I'm going to walk you through the entire thing. Now, again, the healing culture. I already touched on this for a bit. But this idea of, like, I went to therapy myself, right? I went to therapy to understand some patterns that I was having, but I never, in like every single time I was going into therapy, and I did that 3 times throughout my entire life. Every single time I went to therapy, I literally told the therapist, I'm not here to fucking complain about my problems and then just, sit in this mode. I'm here to understand some hyper specific patterns and then I'm out. And I only did a couple of sessions and then I was out because I got it, right? And at the time I needed help. Now I don't anymore. But the thing is, this idea of like going to therapy and talking about your problems and just talking about your trauma and just trying to heal and stuff like that, why not use that energy to fucking win? Why not use that energy to build something amazing? That's what I don't get. Most people get stuck in that. Like, let me just heal my trauma. For what? Don't heal your trauma. Take that and literally use that as fuel for you to just go to the next fucking level. That's the thing. So, staying a little messed up can actually supercharge and boost your entire career, your entire ambition, your entire spirit. Staying a little messed up. Now, I'm not saying you have to be perfect. I'm not saying you have to be completely messed up. There's nuances to this. But you have to be a little messed up. You have to be a little. Look at Michael Jordan, the best basketball. I don't want to hear anything about LeBron. The best basketball player in history, right? A fucking gambling addict. Using his addiction as literally the foundation and the fuel and the boost for his entire fucking career. Do you think Michael Jordan would have been able to play at that level had it not been for his addiction? No, because you have to understand people at that sort of level, they use whatever addiction they have, whatever trauma they have, whatever pain as fuel for them to just completely crack the entire construct of human potential. So they're not limited by any human construct at all, any sort of limits. No, they just transcend all of that, and they literally become superhuman. They become superhuman. So you have to have some sort of thing, some sort of pain, trauma. You have to be a little messed up. Now, what I want to start with in terms of the points is this. Again, the pain is the ultimate fuel. It's the ultimate fuel. Everybody's like, yeah, gratitude. Gratitude is amazing, but let me tell you, nothing will fucking motivate. You want to know how you can become like the most motivated version of yourself right now? Put yourself in a position where you can lose everything by tomorrow. Do that. Do that, and you will see how motivated you become instantly. Instantly. Put yourself in that position. Feeling shame, feeling hatred, feeling all of these low emotions is only bad when you identify yourself with those emotions and you don't do shit about it. But if you take those and you flip that into saying, okay, you know what? I'm feeling anger right now. I talked to my mom today, for example. So I talked to my mom. I was in an Uber and she was telling me about like this. Again, I'm gonna tell you like how my mind works. She told me about this like a situation with like her parking spot, like not being able to find like a parking spot and stuff where my parents live, and like she's all stressed out about it and she fucking hates it, and I understand it and everything. And I literally got so mad and frustrated, and I just had this fucking rage in me. And I was like, I have to make millions on top of millions so my mom never fucking struggles with that again. And I use that anger to work. I use that anger. I didn't hold on to that anger like, oh, let me sit and be angry. Let me just sit and no. I use that and I transform that into something productive. So that's the thing. Pain is literally the best fucking fuel. Now, in terms of trauma, you have to understand, especially if you make content, trauma is literally your best content. It's your best content. I have it tattooed on me right here. It's my only tattoo. I don't know if the camera is gonna catch this, but yeah, let me just. So anyway, it says pain from my sides, and from your side it reads love. So it's an ambigram, I guess, or I don't know the exact term for it. But it reads pain from my side, and then from the other side of the person, it reads love. Now, this is my entire philosophy. You take whatever bad things that you went through, whatever trauma you went through, and you convert that into something good. You convert that into lessons. You convert that into content. That's the whole thing for the content space. Literally, I'm sitting here and I'm talking like on my channel. You can go. I have so many videos in which I'm talking about the things that I went through, my pain, the negative stuff. I'm literally giving you my story, my life story, and extracting from that. I'm not just yapping for the sake of fucking yapping. I'm just extracting lessons from that and hopefully giving you something that you can directly apply, not just on a business level, but also on a human mental level. Because I realized for the longest time, I didn't do that with YouTube. You know, I kept like I only showed like my bad. I fucked up the camera. Yeah, there we go. I only show like 5%, right? So this is literally the stuff that I'm doing now. I'm literally giving you my pain. So the pain that you're hiding away from, the trauma that you're hiding away from, why not convert that into lessons and talk about that? Talk about what you learned while going through that breakup. Talk about what you learned while, I don't know, being in a super low position. Talk about anything. Talking about what you learned being at rock bottom. Talk about that, right? That's, I promise you, one video like that takes off, your life is changed. Your life is changed. Especially, it doesn't matter if you're a business owner, if you're whatever. You can do content like that. So your whole perception of trauma needs to change and will change after this video, because trauma is a blessing as long as you actually know how to use it. I've never met a person that lived a cushy, like super fucking relaxed life that is hyper successful. Never met anyone like that actually built something from the ground up. Again, every single successful person, my mentors as well, like, they built something because they were running away from a sort of like a feeling, an emotion. They were so traumatized by something that they took that in, they actually channeled that energy and attention into something good. That's the fucking recipe. I'm literally giving you the recipe right now. Now, this idea, and this also comes from, trauma. Trauma brings a lot of like scarcity. So this idea of like, I'm never gonna have enough. I'm never, what if I don't make it? What if I, you have to literally turn that and convert that into abundance. And you do that by literally brainwashing yourself day to day. You can write it in your journal. That's what I'm doing, for example, with some things. So you can literally take that. You have to understand, up until now, most likely, you've been programmed to think super small and to be scared. And most likely, you've lived a sheltered version of yourself, someone that is wearing a mask. You have not embodied your real self, your authentic self. You've been a people pleaser. You've done all of that. You've been thinking so small that you don't even recognize your own dreams and goals anymore. So you have to rewire that entire brain. You have to rewire that entire mindset. Go from I'll never have enough to I already have everything. I already have the cars. I already have the businesses. I already have everything I want. And I promise you, reality will catch up. And you have to pair this again with action. Don't just write that and without any taking any action. Take the action. Write that and then take the action. Because this all stems, again, the trauma that we usually get from like childhood, right? So the childhood issues, that's what you got to actually channel. That traumatic experience that you had as a kid, you have to channel that into a really unstoppable force. So I've never said this on the channel again, but my childhood was okay for the most part, but I had some really traumatic experiences, especially with my parents, with them fighting. So I channeled that traumatic thing, which it was really traumatic for me to constantly, up until I was, I don't know, even like 20, I would constantly hear my parents fight. Constantly. Constantly. I'm getting super fucking personal here, but I was constantly hearing them fight. And that's every single time, when they were fighting, I felt this like, I felt this like pit in my stomach, like fear, right? And it's trauma. It's a trauma response. But you know how I converted that into something fucking amazing? When you go through that as a kid, it makes you hyper aware of essentially being aware of like this idea of like reading the room, right? So it makes you super aware of what's happening in the room, and you have to scan the room, and you do all of that as a protection mechanism as a kid. Now, when I actually internalize the fact that that is a superpower that I've been given, it's amazing because now, and I've been doing this for years, but every single room that I'm in, I can easily read people. I can easily read patterns because I was supposed to do that when I was a kid to make sure my parents were okay and they were not going to fight. Now that is a fucking, what I told you right now is super personal and super traumatic. I was traumatized as a kid. But I'm not complaining about it. I'm using it as a superpower. That's just a small example, right? So hopefully that made sense. Now, you have to understand healing is actually complacency. And that is something that nobody talks. Healing is actually complacency. Why? The thing is, you sitting there and healing your shit and not actually converting that and doing any work, that is, you know, the thing is, healed people actually stop the work. They stop building because they think, oh, I'm done. I'm done. I healed myself. Everything is, my work is complete. My job is done. I'm not going to do anything extra. I'm not going to try. I'm not going to work on this business. I'm not going to build this because I'm done. I'm such a perfect, specimen that I'm just done. I healed my shit. I went through therapy for like 6 months. I'm done. I ain't got to do it. Like that is bullshit. That's just bullshit. You're not done. So that's why usually broken people, the ones that might not be perfect, they might be a little fucked up in their head, they might be delusional, whatever. That's why they build fucking empires. Because you have to be, to a point, you have to be a bit broken in your mind. You have to have some type of trauma, some type of addiction, some type of really traumatic experience that happened to you and that you integrate it into what you're doing so you can have infinite fuel, infinite energy. If you're healed and if you're like, yeah, I'm so healed right now, like I don't need to do anything, you're going to be complacent, and complacency does not lead to amazing outcomes. So hopefully that makes sense with this. Now, um, I could talk about this for hours because I love this fucking topic and nobody talks about this. But there are also some dark side effects that come with not healing your trauma and staying unhealed. And that's where the nuances come in. Now you have to understand we're all human, right? And there's only so much you can do on a day-to-day basis, but that's why you have to really be self-aware. And you can be broken, you can have some trauma, but don't allow yourself to be broken to the point where you're dysfunctional. You have to be able to operate on a really high level. What does that mean? You have to, yes, integrate your trauma, use that, but know your limits. Know your limits. Just because, for example, Michael Jordan was able to use his gambling addiction as fuel for his career, it doesn't, like, if you're addicted to gambling, you might not be ready to use that on such a level. So that's where self-awareness comes into play. You have to be aware of, like, who exactly am I and how far can I push this thing? Because it can have some really dark side effects. Really dark side effects. And that's why sometimes it's better to take a step back and really give yourself the time to not heal, but integrate some of those things. I think is this concept that a lot of people shy away from. Just because you feel some negative things doesn't mean that you're dysfunctional. You can take those and you can integrate those into your everyday life. And again, it's literally thinking that whatever you're feeling, you can switch that and convert that into fuel for your thing. But again, this is the dark side of not healing yourself. And what I want to touch on now at the end is this idea that you have to heal just enough to be able to function, but then you have to let the trauma do its thing. You have to heal just enough for you to be able to perform. So don't be a fucking complete mess, obviously. You have to deal with some things, but then some other things, you have to leave them there. You have to leave them there because they're going to be the best fuel that you're going to get. They're going to literally be the best fuel that you're going to get. There's no amount of self-help books, there's no amount of like motivational videos on YouTube, like Twitter posts, whatever that you're going to read that are going to give you that intrinsic drive as some traumatic thing can do. And when I say healing, I mean true healing, Not this idea of like yapping about your problems. And it's like identifying patterns, breaking your patterns, improving, going through constant feedback loops, trying to literally take a look at, scan your audit, do a life audit, audit your entire life, see where do I need to really truly improve and heal what needs to be healed. But again, leave the trauma as fuel, because sometimes, I'm telling you, sometimes you make more money this week, more money this month, more money than you've ever made. You get this spike of dopamine and motivation, like let's crush it. But then that depletes, that goes out, runs out. So you have to then tap into that trauma bucket, right? Let's call it the trauma bucket. And you have to take some trauma from there and then throw that onto the fire. And that will literally make you unstoppable. I promise you, it will make you unstoppable. You don't have to heal the trauma. You don't have to. That's the thing. We're all human beings. We all deal with stuff. We all go through shit. You don't have to be perfectly healed to be successful. And just the way you are right now, with the things that you've been blessed with in your childhood, with the trauma, with the bad things, with your family not getting along, with whatever, with the fights, with the breakups, the friendships, the businesses that failed. Everything is a trauma and an opportunity for you to convert that into infinite fuel. So stop taking everything so seriously. Stop trying to be perfect. Stop trying to give a fuck about all of that. Stop trying to heal everything about you. You're not supposed to be of this fucking like perfect fucking project that is shining, that has no trauma. No, you're a human being. And again, our gifts, my tattoo, right? Our gift and blessing as human beings is to take the trauma, the negative things that we went through, and convert that into something positive, into a legacy for the world. This was an absolute fire session. Make sure you subscribe, because I'm going to see you in the next one.